All right, so part of us, well, at least me, I was hoping A&M LSU would mean a lot more than it's going to mean right now. But for LSU, it's still a big game because they're still trying to find a way to get into the playoffs. A&M just hoping to get some kind of momentum after a terrible season. We go to Mike Scarborough from TigerBait.com to talk about all things LSU A&M. Mike, what's going on, my friend?
Nothing. It's there was a good part of the off season and the early part of this season when we thought maybe this A&M game would be the difference between LSU being bowl eligible. And now they're in the SEC championship game, which is just really unheard of. And what Brian Kelly has done, I think something that nobody is really talking about in my mind is the fourth quarter, the shape that this team has been in and the way that they finish games. The Tennessee game was what it was, but I don't think there's been a team out there in the SEC or on the schedule that's outplayed LSU in the fourth quarter of the season. And then plus overtime against Alabama.
Yeah, the stones that they have shown out there. So let me ask you, how realistic is playoff talk for this team, understanding they still have two hurdles? A&M won't be as easy, I think, as the schedule or as their record says. And obviously Georgia's the big one waiting for LSU there in Atlanta.
Look, I don't think anybody over here is going to bet the house on LSU beating Georgia, but things can happen. And that's why you play the game. And Jaden Daniels has been an equalizer with his legs. And Matt House's defense, if he's got it dialed in early and he's not behind multiple scores and having to dial it in or make changes at halftime, he's been unbelievable. He's up for postseason awards for coordinator of the year and all that. And so, look, the question I have is, if LSU were to win that game, how do you reject an SEC champion even with two losses? And so does LSU, like in 2007, become the first team in the playoffs with two losses after being the first national champion with two losses? So, but you got to get past Texas A&M. This is going to be a big football game this Saturday, and that's another crazy statistic. Since 2017, Brian Kelly is 19-0 in November.
That's incredible. I did not know that. So
going for his 20th November consecutive win this Saturday.
That's an incredible statistic there. So when we look at this A&M game, all the stats, everything tells you that LSU is going to have no problem with A&M. That's, if you're at home and not a fan invested in either team, you could see, oh, that's LSU all day. The one thing I'll say about this A&M team, as bad as this season's been, and it has been horrific, they have been in all games pretty much. Florida got away from them with the flu game. You had the Ole Miss game was right there on the wire. Alabama came down to the last possession. South Carolina last possession. So there have been a lot of these. Auburn, a couple possessions away. So I say that to you. Do you expect this game to be a close game if A&M is healthy with Devon Achane and Evan Stewart and everybody playing?
It would not shock me. I think that's a real scenario. And so am I saying that point spread, what is it, 8-10, depending on where you look? That might not be a bad bet to take A&M in the points. But I can also see a scenario where if LSU gets out to an early lead and A&M doesn't have all these guys back 100% that you're rattling off, could it be a one where they put it away and it's a walk-off? I kind of think your scenario might be a lot more likely. I think this is a game certainly that the A&M players would love to have. It'll make the offseason a lot more bearable. It'll make you forget a lot of what took place this season. This could be a game that really catapults things into a more positive light into the offseason. And then we wait to see what Jimbo does immediately as far as changes.
How much of this game do you think comes down to stopping the run for A&M? If A&M is able, and they haven't been able to stop the run all season long, but let's say they are able to contain Jaden Daniels a little bit, how much of the game is predicated on that?
That's a big part of LSU's game. But it's, you're going to pick your poison. With LSU's wide receivers, who are you going to take off that type of coverage to bring somebody to either shadow Daniels or guess right? And he's been a lot better at picking up the blitzes and reading those types of things. And so and then all of a sudden he hits Mason Taylor for a 13-yard first down. I will say that a real key for A&M though is to get LSU in third and long, and is he going to be as successful as he has been in other games? Arkansas really did a good job on him, but is that another one of those games where it was 30 degrees in Fayetteville, and LSU's been a lot of wacky football games in Fayetteville in this century?
How about Harold Perkins, a guy that A&M thought they had? He ended up going to LSU. He has been an MVP on that defense. Just how important has he been beyond the highlight plays that we see, the strip sacks, the at closing games? How beyond that, the stuff that we see, how good has Harold Perkins been?
Last week heading to the press box, I ran into his uncle, and I said, what might have been had he been a midterm grad and he actually had spring football under his belt? Because a good part of the season, the first half of the season, there was a lot of clamoring for him to be out on the field, because every time he was out there, he either flashed or did something amazing, and then he wasn't out there for a good bit. He's just unbelievable, and so obviously LSU's pretty excited about the freshmen this year, whether it's Mason Taylor, Harold Perkins. You got two true freshman tackles and Will Campbell and Emory Jones. But beyond just being either an all-SEC freshman team, or what linebackers nationally are playing at a higher level than Harold Perkins? What's the likelihood of him being an All-American as a true freshman? Not just a freshman All-American, but either a first or second team linebacker All-American with the way he's played. SEC Defensive Player of the Week twice, a Freshman Player of the Week in there as well. And so he's been phenomenal. And to think that LSU is going to have him for 2 more years.
Hey, last thing for you. Does A&M do anything that should concern LSU? Is there something on the film out there that you think has LSU's attention?
Look, there's some speed and there's some talent. If they're executing, which I expect they will do with LSU coming to town, that environment's going to be lively. I don't know what the weather forecast looks like, but this is a bowl game, and that's the way this LSU football team needs to look at it. I think A&M is going to be ready to play. I think they're going to have a good week of practice. I don't know how they can't. And so if you get some of those guys back healthy, I think it's going to be a football game, a lot more than what Vegas might think or what the spread is. I think that could be a sucker bet all day long. I expect A&M to keep this one close.
Mike, we appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much. We'll see you here on Saturday night.
All right. Good talking to you.